Welcome to the Millennial Life Coaches podcast. At MLC, our mission is simple: add value to help you take on massive action towards your life goals. Here, we feature amazing coaches from all over the world, share compelling stories, and discuss proven practices to help keep your energy high and in the flow. Learn more about MLC at millenniallifecoaches.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Get Ahead with Millennial Life Coaches. I am your host, Tanya, and today I'm joined by the amazing Melissa Castro. Now, Melissa is with Intrinsic Lead. She is a fantastic leadership and team development coach who really works with people who are kind of in that stage of burnout, or maybe not necessarily feeling like they're equipped to lead in this time, in this stage of their lives. So welcome, Melissa. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the intro. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, I love it. So let's just dive right in. Let's talk
Yeah.
about leadership in
Yes.
businesses. So when your clients kind of come to you, I guess let's first start with what kind of clients do you find come to you the most? What are kind of their things that are working with? I know we had said burnout and
Mhm.
not feeling equipped, but what kind of problems are people kind of generally facing when they meet you?
Yeah. So oftentimes I work with millennials that are new managers and they're working on establishing themselves as leaders in their company. They're kind of new to the management game. Maybe they've managed somebody before, maybe they haven't, but they're really just looking to level up their leadership skills. And then the other side of that is a lot of folks are maybe looking for the next point in their career. It doesn't necessarily have to go with management, though. It could just be how do they level up as leaders at their workplace, not just as managers. And so I do make that distinction between leaders and, formal managers that have direct reports, because I do believe that everybody's got leadership influence. And that was the major premise behind my coaching book that I wrote for millennials on how do you lead in all aspects of your life, not just at work, but how do you see yourself as, the influencer in the spaces you're in, choosing the energy you want to bring to the room. So leadership is the big umbrella that started me on my journey. Burnout is something that I encountered with folks along the way and that they often, come up into some challenges in that front. And then getting into well-being, getting into optimizing our energy and our leadership influence is kind of where I go with folks.
Love that. Let's there's so much that you just said that I'm going to come back to. I'm like literally
Yeah.
typing notes here. Let's start with the leadership influence because I
Yes.
love this phrase.
Mhm.
What does that mean and how can we tap into it?
Yes. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Leadership influence to me means that we get to choose our energy and how we wield it. We get to choose the vibe we bring to the room, and using it is that influence.
I love that. So the energy and the vibe, because it's true that when we walk into a room, our energy and our vibe walks in well before we physically step foot in it.
Yes.
So as maybe a millennial that's kind of like teetering on the like, I want to increase my leadership influence, but I'm not sure what vibe I'm necessarily entering the room with. What are some tips
Yeah.
or strategies that you could give them to start, I guess, A, creating an awareness of what it
Yeah.
is, and B, shifting it in the direction that they want?
Yes, I love this so much. So, first things first, it's like congratulate yourself for taking that pause and having that initial self-awareness to be like, I need to decide and be clear who I am and what I'm about. That's like the gateway question. And if you have that question in your mind and you're like, I don't know what that vibe is, I don't know how I want to show up, that is where, at least for me, it gets exciting and a little bit scary. And that's where kind of coaching comes in, because many of us haven't stopped to answer that question. Many of us haven't stopped to consider, like, who am I and what am I really about? Like, what do my people know about me? Or what do I want my people, my circles to know about me? And I talk about circles of influence and just like, you know, it's hard. I will say that it's hard. We're not built with this like mechanism that teaches us, hey, go write down your values. Hey, go clarify, what kind of leader you want to be. What's your leadership philosophy, your leadership mantra? When we talk about more formal kind of corporate leadership or working with organizations, we talk about that, your leadership values, your leadership philosophy, or your leadership statement. But for, day to day, just being a millennial leader out in the world in whatever space you're in, we're really talking about a couple things: self-awareness, being in choice, and being willing to ask yourself and answer some hard questions. That is what I would say is the sort of gateway for establishing your vibe and being in choice about it.
I love this. Okay. So let's break these down. So self-awareness, what does that like what can I do? What actionable steps can I take to start tapping into that?
First and foremost, slow down. We all need to slow down and bring a little bit more intention to our days. I talk about this a bit in my book. It's the power of the pause. And if we can kind of like rewind back, I know this wasn't true for everybody, but many of us had these moments of forced pause during the pandemic where we just had to like slow down and kind of wait for things to unfold. And then we had some time to like actually think about it and consider like, do I like this job? Is this relationship working out for me? Am I liking how I'm showing up? And maybe we didn't ask those questions in that way, but there are moments in life where we're like, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, and then you can ask the question, like, is this working for you? Is what you're doing working for you? And so that I'd say is a really good like self-awareness building question is, is what I'm doing, is how I'm showing up wherever I am working for me and getting me the outcomes that I want.
Love that. And is that part of the hard questions that you would suggest that people start asking themselves?
Yes, I think that's a good gateway one is, how do I want to show up, and is what I'm currently doing moving me in that direction? Some more nuanced ones that take a little bit more, I'd say, digging and reflection is the values question, is really exploring your values and getting clear on like a couple of things that can be your sort of compass that can help you come back to yourself when you're making decisions, when you're at pivot points. Having some clarity around your values that just like stand out in your mind can be really helpful. And many people do not know that answer when you say like, what are your top values? People don't know. And it's kind of interesting because we go into, pretty serious relationships. Many of us get married without answering those questions of ourselves or of our potential partners. And that's something that I'm seeing a lot of millennials as we get a little later into life. If we go down the road without having clarity around those values, it is hard for us to even ask those self-awareness questions, to even consider how we're showing up, to even be able to choose the vibe. So, how am I showing up? Is it getting me what I want? What are my top values that I can keep coming back to? And then the other thing is, what kind of community do I want to build, or what kind of community am I a part of already? And I just bring this up because when I mentioned circles of influence, and I really do think, they say you are what you eat. They say your vibe attracts your tribe. I shifted that to your view attracts your crew. And so just like noticing the kinds of energy and spaces you're around, that's another really great self-awareness and just kind of like community awareness building skill that is really helpful to take stock of, especially if you're feeling out of sorts or like you're not quite in alignment in life.
You are listening to this podcast because you are a millennial who is stepping up to take control of your life, and that includes a better financial future. But do you find yourself feeling overwhelmed and anxious about money and financial decisions? And do you feel stressed and worried you can't keep up to the financial demands of life? And then do you beat yourself up because you just can't seem to get a handle on your finances the way you want or know that you should? Well, the problem is not you. It's that you're living in a money story designed by and for boomers, and you are a millennial, and that is stressing you out. I'm Brian Rump, a financial transformation guide. After 20 years of working in money as a banker, financial planner, a business coach, and story brand guide, I've realized that what we all need is to live a better money story, and we have the power to rewrite our own. Here's how I want to help you rewrite your money story. First, we're going to uncover your money story and see which parts are holding you back. Then, we're going to release and reframe the parts of the story that aren't helpful so that we can rewrite your money story and you can build the life you really want. So say goodbye to financial anxiety and rewrite a better money story by booking a free call with me at brianrump.com.
Life.
Okay. So let's talk about values then, because I completely agree. If we don't know what our values are, how are we working towards what it is that we want? And we're making decisions that are kind of out of alignment for us.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I first started doing work with my values, and I'm not assuming that everyone is like me, but I'm not assuming that people think this way too. Some of my values came up that I was like, is this like a weird one? Like, because it should be like work or money or all of this stuff. But what kind
Yeah.
of values, or I guess, how would you explain values to people? Because I know, like,
Yeah.
for me, freedom is one of mine. And like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't sound like it connects with any type of business or leadership philosophy, yet it does in such a big way. So,
Yeah.
what kind of values can people kind of start tapping into? Like,
Yeah.
is travel one? Like, what are examples, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great question. And again, because we're not really taught this anywhere. The first time I really started assessing what mine might be was in grad school for organizational leadership and thinking about, what are my leadership values? No one had asked that question of me before. And so examples of values can vary pretty widely, and you can very easily go in and type on Google like list of values. You can go to ChatGPT or any type of AI engine like that, say hit me with a list of values. But some top ones that I just want to share that kind of come up often are things like integrity, courage, honesty. Now, I will say when I first sketched out my values, they were courage, integrity, and service. And I was in a lot of service-based roles. And those three things felt like very official and very like corporate polish. And I was like very proud of them. I almost got them tattooed on my arm in like this like funky design. Really glad that I didn't, because after doing some more deep diving, reflecting, those sounded a little bit more like government or like a police department or something, which was funny because my dad was a career police officer. And so, your values might initially show up as something that you're familiar with from like your context of your childhood, your upbringing. But you want to dig even a click deeper and think back into times of life where you're out of alignment or in alignment. And what I mean when I say that is you can look back on, take segments of your life and just think about what things were going really well and felt really right, and think about what things were going really wrong, maybe didn't feel great. And in there, you can find your values. You can find some of these things that were evergreen, true about you from the beginning of your time on the planet that are still true today. Those are the values words. And yes, it's true that priorities shift, as we get older, some people have families, some people traveling is a value, some people career is something that's important to them. And just differentiating is the main thing here, is differentiate between something that is evergreen, that is intrinsic, that is within you, true to you forever in all circumstances since the beginning of your time. That's one of your values. And that is distinct from your priorities of this time period that might shift, and even your strengths, some of the gifts you might have. Maybe you have some natural talents. Those are your strengths. Maybe you have some things you really like to do at work. Those could be strengths, not necessarily values. They probably support each other, but that's one thing that I see a lot. Folks get those a little bit mixed up. Values are in there already. You just have to uncover them rather than create them, if that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah. So it's more of like a kind of a look within and pull what's already within you out versus
Yes,
creating the words that sound lovely that maybe don't
exactly.
actually resonate deep with your
Yes,
soul. I love
that's
that.
right. Yep.
Let's backtrack a little bit because you did mention that you have a book that you've
Yes.
written. So let's talk about the book.
Yes, just published in May. So it's still very fresh for me. It's just been a couple months since book launch. It is called Intrinsic Leadership because this is the philosophy, the belief, the deeply researched and held, like tried and true framework that has been really impactful for me since I went to grad school, since I went into coaching work, and just being able to dig into that and do research on it. It started with my journey through burnout and my own journey, having kind of an oh shit moment. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on the pod, but having one of those moments where I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this where I want to be? Is this who I am? Wait a minute, who am I? And so along that same lines, crashing and burning at work, getting to this prestigious, stable, great career, and then being like, is this it for me? And the resounding answer was, no, this wasn't it for me. And what am I going to do otherwise? So it was doing healing work, doing values work, working through burnout, creating well-being practices, and then also some of the pure form leadership development stuff, reflecting on what kind of leader I wanted to be in my energy and my influence, and learning about goals, learning about those kinds of more tactical things too. So that was my journey before coaching school and kind of coming out of grad school as I was a manager myself. And then when I started coaching, I started hearing my story, the same story, so similar in every client that I coached. They got to this oh shit moment. They wondered what the heck they were doing there. They're like, how did I get here? Is this who I am? Wait a minute, who am I? They're crashing and burning, chronic illnesses, all these things. And I just kept hearing these stories over and over again. And I'm like, wow, this is a story that needs to be told with some maybe offerings for some solutions and how we can do things differently, how we can explore through this process of crashing and burning or discovering ourselves, or, even just getting to know who we want to show up as a little bit better.
Hi, listeners. Kelly Ling here, ICF certified executive coach and founder of Stork and Spark, where I support ambitious, expectant, and new parents navigate career evolution and identity. I was honored to be a featured guest in a recent episode of Millennial Life Coaches and love the community this team has built for us millennials. I'm excited to offer listeners a complimentary Power 20 session where we have 20 minutes together to tackle your big questions like how to tell work you're pregnant, how to return to work from parental leave with confidence, and how to actually enjoy being a parent and lean into parenthood and career as part of your identity. Find me on LinkedIn and send me a message mentioning this podcast, and I'll share next steps. Cheers, y'all.
I love that. So let's talk about it, because I know in my journey I've had that oh shit moment. So I know that there's going to be quite a few listeners out there that might be hitting that stage of maybe I'm teetering on burnout, maybe I just got everything I wanted, but I'm having that almost identity crisis of like,
Yeah, that's
cool,
a great way to put it.
is this it? This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
What advice or tips can you give people that are kind of in that space right now where they're looking around going, cool, so now what?
Totally. Well, I wrote down every bit of advice and tips and research I could in this book, so I'll tell you that much. But as a snapshot, the first thing I would say is you're not alone. We are the biggest generation in the workforce right now. I think we're sitting around 35% of the workforce, millennials are. And so all of the 30s and early 40 somethings are experiencing similar feelings, if not in a massive existential crisis way. They've flirted with that massive existential crisis, unless they have done some digging work. So the first thing I would say is you're not alone. And the second thing I would say is you're not stuck there. There is a way forward, and you can do some digging, and it can be kind of fun. There can be some mud that you have to, claw your way through a little bit in that journey. But you can change, you can really shift what you're doing with your life and how you want to be showing up in it. So just to offer some hope, there really are scientific, tactical strategies. There's coaches out there that can help you do it. Hopefully you have some friends and, a crew that can help you through those things too. And so that might be the final piece of advice there is, if you are feeling alone or stuck or having a really hard time, find your people, because there's a community of others who will geek out on growth and growing with you. And many millennials are very growth oriented, growth minded. They just don't know where to start. So it's like, pull out that resourcefulness, pull out that willingness to like jump on and like do your research, that resilience, that emotional intelligence. These are all strengths that millennials have. These are the kinds of things you can lean on if you're feeling like you're kind of fumbling through the dark a little bit.
I love that. And also just to add to that, obviously buy the book. Where
Please
can
buy
we
the book.
buy it?
You can buy the book on Amazon. It's also on, if you prefer, bookshop.org, which is supports local bookshops. But yeah, it's on the major Amazon site and on bookshop.org. And very excitingly, freshly, like hot off the press. I don't know when we go live with all this podcast stuff, but my audiobook version of it is coming out and you can order it now, but I'm officially announcing that on the September 9th coming up. So yeah, order it now if you want, go check it out. If I know millennials too love a listening option for their books these days. So really excited about that. That's just like fresh news as of like this last week. So that's why I'm just like, do I need to whisper about it? Oh, wait, it's my book, so I can do whatever the hell I want.
We can celebrate that. By the time this is
Yes.
aired, it will be live. So we'll make sure all
Perfect.
that information is in the show notes with this
Perfect.
episode, as well as how to get a hold of you.
Awesome.
Because obviously we want to make sure that they're able to get a hold of you. Because my next
Yeah.
question is going to be, what is it kind of like? So if I'm at this
Mhm.
place where I'm like, I've had this moment, I'm ready to take accountability, I'm ready to do the coaching. What
Mhm.
does working with a coach like yourself look like?
Yeah, great question. So, sort of two major formats that I personally use: one-on-one coaching, pure form coaching, for the more introverted folks in the crowd, one-on-one's your way to go. You like to have, very focused processing time. We get to know each other a little bit, and then I ask you a lot of questions and I give you space to answer them and hold space for, whatever comes up as we do those deep dives and reflecting. And the other big option that is fairly popular among our generation and can be more fun if you get some like gal pals together, not just gals, but you get some pals together, is small group coaching. So I do run a couple of small group coaching programs where 5, 6 people get together, sometimes even teeny groups, like three. I have a women's coaching group that I run. We meet every month. And so we work on this development stuff together. And for people that are more, maybe aren't ready to dive in, head first into the one-on-one and like the so focused, group coaching can give you a little bit of a looser structure, but also some accountability and a little bit of razzle dazzle if you bring in friends to your party with you. And that's such a millennial thing, is like a millennial group of people getting together to do development work. It's really fun. And it's like this unique, I feel like, subset of the population that, are gonna be geeking out on good energy and just like wanting to better themselves. It's so much more fun to do it when you're not just solo.
Oh my goodness. I feel like 80% of my self-development has been in a group setting, and
Yeah.
it's so empowering because not only do you get breakthroughs for yourself, but watching
Mhm.
somebody else, you're like,
Oh,
never
yeah.
even thought of that, and totally see that in my own life. So it
Yeah.
has that like beautiful combination. So I love that you're doing that. And I love that it brings in that community and crew element that you had said
Yep.
earlier, because it all does tie together in such a
Yeah.
beautiful and profound way.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. What is anything that I've missed? Like, final notes, we're going to kind of wrap this up here. So, is there anything
Mhm.
that I've missed or anything that you really want our listeners to hear about leadership and that development of kind of like your team and yourself so that you can
Yeah.
really improve that leadership influence you have in the world?
Yeah. My main takeaway would just be that regardless of your title, you are a leader in every circle that you're in, at home, in the community, when you're out, I don't know, out at the grocery store, when you're at work, especially, of course, if you have a team, like you said, and you're developing a team. And that influence is yours to wield. Like you build it, you wield it however you want. You get to decide, you get to be in choice. And I feel like there's a sentiment out in the world that we're just kind of stuck with what we've got and things are kind of crappy right now. And, it can bring the energy down a little bit. And what I would just counter with is that yes, things are hard right now. Yes, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on, and you can still be in choice about your vibe, about your crew, about how you influence your community, and about how you're living your life. You get to decide and lead it how you want. So that's my headline takeaway.
Love that. And I love that you brought back the vibe, because honestly, I think that that is one of the most key elements is we don't realize how much our energy and our vibe impact the rooms and the circles that we're in. So
Yes.
such a powerful takeaway. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us today, Melissa. This
Yeah.
has been such a beautiful conversation. So grateful we got to have this with you. Like I said, we will get Melissa's information on the show notes here, so you'll be able to get in contact with her. What are some quick ways, just while we've got it on recording, that people can get a hold of you?
So if it's normal to do email, certainly got an email address, but my website is pretty easy. It's intrinsiclead.com. So intrinsic, INTRINSIC lead.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Primarily Instagram and LinkedIn is, if you're wanting to go through those public channels. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to folks. I'm also a member of the Millennial Leadership Coaches directory and formal kind of program. So you can find me in there too.
Fantastic. I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you again so much for joining me today. This has been another episode of How to Get Ahead with Millennial Life Coaches, and we will see you on the next one.